Hello, welcome to Paul's Take. We're going to do a comparison between the 2012 Jeep Liberty and the 2012 Jeep Wrangler. Which one is the better deal? Why do I like my Liberty so much? I'll tell you why. Check this out. First of all, we're comparing the two of the same type of model. So mine, the Liberty is going to be a sport 4-door, and of course, they all come in 4-door. And the Wrangler is going to be a 4-door, 4-wheel drive sport as well. It's only showing 2 doors in the picture. Anyways, so let's see. So starting price, when you go out back in 2012, and you were shopping for one of these vehicles, you were going to pay $25,395 for the Liberty and paid $29,435 for the Wrangler. Now, if you're looking for a used one, the Wranglers hold their value amazingly well. So they're actually, you could get one for $20,762. 8 years later, that is an amazing retention of value for a car. It's amazing. It's one of the best. And the Liberty, which does not retain its value nearly as much at all, you can buy one for $10,538. Now, if you were buying a vehicle, say you're trying to buy one, like I am, or I did, and you're like, well, you basically get a Liberty for half the price as a Wrangler. Now, granted, I think there is no replacement for a Wrangler. If you want a Wrangler, you are not going to go Liberty. But I think a lot of people that like the Liberty would potentially go Wrangler. I think is the next option for you. But I don't think people going Wranglers go down to Liberty. I think it's going to be upwards momentum. Myself, I like the Liberty, actually. So in this case, it's true. Well, I like the Liberty a lot. And I like the Wranglers a lot. So I can't see myself spending $10,000 more for something that I might like just as much, if not, I might actually like the Liberty more. Because I love my Liberty completely. And I'll tell you why. So the overall score is 7.0 out of 10 for the Liberty. Not sure, so that's overall. And 7.2 for the Wrangler. So not much of a difference there. Critics' choice, critics' rating. The critics' rating is a lot better for the Wrangler at 8.4 versus 6.7. Performance-wise, the Wrangler does have a more powerful motor. So let's get 8.1 over 6.4. But I do have a Liberty. So I'll tell you that, to me, it seemed fine. The performance, I hear like bad things about it, but tell you the truth, I feel like the motor is smooth, and I feel like it has plenty of power for this kind of vehicle. This is a very tall off-road vehicle, and I don't think it needs a lot of power. But it has, to me, adequate enough power for this vehicle. I have no problems, no issue with the power of the Liberty. Interior. The interior got 6.5 in the Liberty and 7.1 in the Wrangler. That might be accurate. This might be a little nicer, I don't know, in the Wrangler, but I completely like the Liberty as well. I don't think that would have been a deciding factor at all. Cost to own was surprising to see. Well, I don't know if that's surprising or not. Is 9.1 out of 10 for Liberty, which is actually pretty darn good, and 8.9 for the Wrangler, which again is actually surprisingly well, considering it's a pretty big, bad, awesome vehicle. Safety, nearly the same. The Liberty squeaks by with 7 out of 10, and the Wrangler 6.9. Reliability, which this was a big surprise, that the Liberty has a 3.0, which means it's above average, and the Wrangler at 2.0, which is below average. So, hey, that's a nice bonus for the Liberty. So the pros. The Liberty has respectable off-road capability. The pros for the Wrangler: powerful V6, outstanding off-road ability, standard 4-wheel drive. Well, that's, I don't know. I don't think that's really a pro, because you'd always just get one in the Liberty. I think actually the availability or the the opportunity to just have rear-wheel drive should be a positive for the Liberty. Anyways, the cons. They say it's underpowered engine. I think it's fine. Poor fuel economy for both. I think it's, you know what, here's the thing. Here is the thing. If you're comparing a Jeep Wrangler or Liberty to a Honda CR-V, yeah, you're going to get much worse gas mileage than a CR-V. But how many CR-Vs do you see tackling on the Rubicon Trail or all these other cool mountain trails or deserts or beaches? You don't see any CR-Vs at the beach? No. You don't see them at the trails? No. It's because it's a car that looks kind of like a truck, but it's not. The Jeeps, and I mean the Wranglers or Liberty, are off-road vehicles. It's not comparison. It's not apples to apples. And so one of the other cons for the Wrangler is limited standard features. It's a Jeep, man. That's not really a negative. Subpar safety score. I was surprised to see that. So that's important. Wouldn't turn me off, but that might be a nice little bragging right for the Liberty. Drivetrain, four-wheel drive. Engine. The Liberty has a bigger engine, a 3.7 liter, but it's an older engine with only 2 valves per cylinder versus the 3.6 liter in the Wrangler, which is 4 valves per cylinder. And what is that? Oh, so gas mileage, it's kind of funny, kind of mixed numbers here. Pretty much nearly the same. Liberty at 21 highway and 15 city, whereas in the Wrangler at 20 highway, 16 city. So each one gets a point for that. Dimensions. Here's the interesting part. This is very interesting, I thought. The one thing it's a turn off for me on the Wrangler. This is true. I mean, this is honest. This is one of the turn-offs for me on the Wrangler. The wheelbase. I feel like the wheelbase on the Wrangler, on the two-wheel drive, two-door, is pretty cool. I don't really have a problem with that. The wheelbase on a two-door is to be fine for a two-door. The wheelbase on the four-door seems really long. And then you got to go higher because you got to get more breakover clearance. Whereas the Liberty, so the Liberty has a 106 inches of wheelbase between the wheelbase, and the Wrangler's 116. That's 10 inches longer. That's nearly a foot longer. It makes a big difference. That's the wheelbase, right? So the overall length of the vehicles, the Liberty actually is longer. So, of course, that's definitely a benefit for the Wrangler when it comes to off-roading, when it comes to interior space. Actually, it doesn't even go, that's not even true either, because the interior space in the Wrangler is more so than the Liberty, shockingly. Okay, without mirrors, is basically the same. The Wrangler is almost an inch wider. 73.1 versus 73.9. Height, the Liberty is a tad taller by just a little, not even an inch. So that's 71 inches. Okay. Convertible top. Now, obviously, the one thing was what? That's why I say if you want a Wrangler, you're not going to go Liberty, because you probably want to take off the tops, take off the doors, fold down the windshield. You can't do that in a Liberty, so that's probably why it's going to kill you. So that's going to be pro on that. And you can get a sunroof and a moonroof, but I hear the moonroofs are not reliable on the Liberties. And so that's where I hear they leak. Don't get the moonroof, get the sunroof. Now, personally, the reason why I like the Liberty is because I have no intention of taking off the tops, and I like the security of a hard top. That's just me. Curb weight. The Liberty weighs more. What do you know? At 42.9 versus 4,100. Where's the ground clearance? That's what I want to see. Okay, so they both hold 5 people. Passenger volume. So the Liberty has a little more passenger volume. I think it's the back seats. I was surprised because the Liberty's back seats don't have a lot of legroom, and I was surprised to see that the legroom on the Wrangler was even less. Front headroom, they're both got plenty. Front legroom are nearly the same. Shoulder room, front shoulder room, 2 inches more, well, inch and a half more in the Liberty. Front hip room, who cares? I don't think you buy for that kind of stuff. Second row legroom. So it's not by also an inch, an inch more in the Liberty. And like I said, there's not much legroom in the Liberty. So it tells you the Wranglers is pretty tight in the back seat. Cargo space was a surprise considering the Liberty is a tad bigger, longer, just by a tad, has much less cargo space. It only has, with the seat up, 60 cubic feet, 60, in the Liberty and 86 in the Wrangler. That's a lot more. Wait a minute. Oh no, that's what the back seats folded down. The back seats folded up in upright position. You only got 25 in the Liberty and 46 in the Wrangler. That is a big difference. Big difference. Shocking. Rollover protection system. That's important, and it's only in the Wrangler. What? I want some rollover protection system. Front tow hooks. Mine has them. Apparently it's an option. And standard on the Wrangler. Traction control is standard on both. Do I give you the horsepower? So here's the horsepower difference. The Liberty has 210 horsepower. Then it has the older 2-valve per cylinder versus the Wrangler's 4-valve per cylinder. It's a newer motor with 285 horsepower. And the torque, big difference here as well. The Liberty has 235 pounds of torque, whereas the Wrangler has 260. So there's no doubt the Wrangler motor is definitely more powerful. Turning diameter. Okay, so this is where the longer wheelbase hurts the Wrangler. So the turnaround diameter on a Liberty is 35 feet, 0.5, and the Wrangler is 41.2 feet. Gas tank. So the Liberty has a 19.5 gallon tank, and the Wrangler has a 22.5. Suspension, front type. A-arms versus live axle. That's for the front. And the rear, they both have live axle. Suspension type in the front is coil springs for the Wrangler. And the Liberty has a 4-speed automatic, whereas the Wrangler has a 5-speed automatic. And there you have it. There's are the technical differences of the two vehicles. Like I said, I'm completely happy with my Liberty. It's my favorite car I've ever had. Is it perfect? No. The only thing that I think could be improved, that I would like to have seen improve, what was it? I had a thing. I forgot what my thing was. Did I have a thing? Maybe I don't have a thing. I was going to say cargo. I was so impressed by the numbers of how much bigger the Wrangler cargo area is. But in reality, I don't have a problem with it. Just by the numbers. I'm actually jealous by the numbers. But I haven't had an issue with storing stuff. I feel like there's still plenty of space in the Liberty. I haven't desired any more space. I guess maybe at some point I would. But right now it's not an issue. So I'll say it's not an issue. But I am jealous. That's probably, to me, is the biggest difference besides the fact that the Liberty doors and roof don't come off. But besides that, I would think the biggest difference is the cargo area. Everything else is very similar. And I got a feeling that if you had a stock, if you had both these vehicles in their stock form, there's not many places the Wrangler could go that the Liberty couldn't go. it might go there a little easier, maybe a little less drama. But they both have four-wheel drive systems. They both have a low range, and they both have about equal ground clearance, close to equal. But the Wrangler has a longer wheelbase, which gives the Liberty an advantage on getting around things. So, anyhow, that's the comparison. I think, oh yeah, the other big thing I forgot. The most important thing to me as well, if you were comparing it to, if you were like shopping for a 2012 Liberty versus a 2012 Wrangler, is the fact that you can get a Liberty for half the price as a Wrangler. So there you go. So if you like the way, like myself, I love the way the Liberty looks. I love the way it drives. And I like pretty much everything about it. Do I like the Wranglers too? Yeah, I do like the Wranglers too. And if they're both the same price, I probably would go. I haven't driven a Wrangler in a million years, but I'm thinking I probably would still go with the Wrangler if it drove comparable, which I'm sure it does. Only because there's so much you can do with it. I don't know. There's probably a lot you can do with the Liberty too, but you know, I think there is a slightly cool factor on the Wrangler, but I don't know. I don't like really being kind of like buying something just because everybody else is buying something. I kind of like to be unique, be the outsider a little bit, you know, have my own style. I'm not much of a follower. So I almost want to rebel against the Wrangler. At the same time, I do like them too. So if they were the same price, I probably would go Wrangler. Probably. If it fit in my garage. Well, I guess it should. Yeah, look at the dimensions. All right, so there you have it. I think also the biggest thing is, like I said, so I like the Wrangler. I like the Liberty. I might lean towards the Wrangler, but I'm not leaning towards paying twice as much. I'm completely happy with my Liberty. I actually wish they continued to make Liberties because I wouldn't mind having a new one if this ever wore out. Hopefully this will last me a long time. It's only got 65,000 miles on it. So I'm assuming if I take care of it, it should last me a good 5 or 6 years. Then after that, we'll see what's out there. Who knows? Can't predict. But definitely Wrangler is a possibility. And maybe a Bronco is a possibility. Or maybe the Hummer EV is a possibility if I become super rich on YouTube. So anything's possible. But it's going to be that type. You know, like the Liberty, but newer. That's my take. What do you think? Which one would you get? I know, you probably get the Wrangler. But like I said, for that deal, if you're trying to get a good four-wheel drive system, 4x4, it's secure. What you like about it's really secure. Got the hard top. I feel more safe. I live in the south where it has lots of thunderstorms, and I feel like I'd rather have a steel cage around me versus a plastic one. Definitely would consider one with a cloth roof. So there's a lot of things I like about this Liberty. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Ball's Take.